The Commonwealth was reaching a stage which might be described as the maturity stage in its life cycle, and therefore needed a boost in order to reignite its objectives and reignite its ideals, and also make it more focused in terms of what the people needs are. The Commonwealth is really about people, and the Commonwealth is really about the development of societies in terms of its interaction with civil society. And I believe that it had reached a point where civil society needed, and the voice of civil society needed to be brought more and more into the domain of the programs and aspirations of the Commonwealth as a whole. And from that point of view, I think there was very active discussion during the retreats of the heads, as well as in the executive sessions and in the foreign ministers' meetings, which focused the attention of the Commonwealth in that direction. So I think that will provide a good change in direction.
Has this CHOGM rescued the Commonwealth from the continuing accusation of irrelevance?
Well, I think that, one has to be very careful when in dealing with this accusation of irrelevance, because I don't think that the Commonwealth was ever irrelevant. I always thought that the Commonwealth was relevant. I think what needed to happen was, where would the Commonwealth focus? For example, 50% or more of the Commonwealth is comprised of youths. And in an age of youth restlessness and the high level of youth unemployment, the hopelessness that vast groups of youths in different societies outside of the Commonwealth also perceive, the Commonwealth needs to respond to those needs and to that level of frustration that youths are feeling. And this is why in the discussions, heavy emphasis would now be placed on youth, not only in terms of youth involvement in politics, but also opportunities for youths in order to become self-sufficient, to get into business, and to have a greater voice and say in the determination of the future into which they are going to arrive.
Minister, Trinidad and Tobago, through you, has retained its position on CMAG, and let me take the opportunity to congratulate you. This says something about the country. It also gives Trinidad and Tobago a stronger voice in the decisions of this organization as it relates to overseeing the values of the Commonwealth.
The Commonwealth is a values-based organization. Whether you talk about democracy, you talk about good governance, you talk about the rule of law, you talk about human rights and the protection of human rights, the upholding of human rights. The Commonwealth Ministerial Action Group, CMAG, is in fact the custodian of those values. And what is now expected of CMAG in its reformed state is the extent to which CMAG will be proactive in preventing crises, preventing human rights abuses, preventing a deterioration in countries where there might be a tendency for the values to be disrespected, and as a result for human rights to be affected in a negative way.
To what extent will the new or reformed CMAG be guided by the recommendations of the EPG?
Well, all of the recommendations of the EPG with respect to the reformation and the reinvigorating or extended powers of CMAG have been accepted, and there was another study that was done making specific recommendations for the reform of CMAG. That too was accepted. So CMAG is really now a stronger organization, a stronger unit, I would say, of the Commonwealth.